not your garden variety psychic. I'm attempting right now to do an episode where I explain kind of how I work, what I do, what I see, what I feel, what led me to this. And I attempted to do an episode like this many years ago. It was a flop. I discovered it's very difficult to describe yourself honestly and with integrity and, showing all your frilly little bits that you don't really want to show the world. But I'm going to try it again because I think at this point, knowing how I see myself, the way that I work, this strange space that I occupy in the landscape of science and new age metaphysics, manifesting woo-woo, this intersection, it might be helpful to some of you who also are struggling to fit yourself into the where do I belong box on this checklist. So without further ado, welcome to episode 669, Not Your Garden Variety Psychic. Flowdreaming.
It's a show where we talk about the power of your mind
To change your world around you.
to literally affect.
The fabric of your reality.
We talk about this feeling of hope
And joy.
and relief. And that is what being aware of your flow does. It gives you a feeling of power again in your lives.
Breathe.
I'm Summer McStravick, and welcome to another episode of Flowdreaming.
So one of the things you guys know about me by now, if you've been listening a while, is I don't hold back. I don't really censor. And unfortunately for my friends and family, that's just gotten worse over the years. And, I'm now that crazy mom who says all the stuff you're not supposed to say, etc., etc. Maybe this has to do with the fact that I've spent almost 700 hours talking to myself into a microphone, creating these shows. But I think it has a really strong upside, which is that I'm willing to go there and possibly embarrass myself. But to the end of showing you that this is what you go through, this is the process you move through as you enter and strive for ever greater self-awareness. And many of you listening right now, you're empaths, you're budding psychics, you're people who are involved in manifesting and spellcasting and all kinds of beautiful things, healing work. Some of you guys are scientists and academics, and you work for the government, and you spend all day with muddy boots on outside, testing samples of rivers and stuff. And you also are struggling to think and figure out, what am I capable of? Where am I going? Where does it all combine together? Can I be religious with this? Do I have to not? Do I have to be spiritual instead? Your mind can be full of so much. So I'm going to describe to you a little bit of my personal journey, a different kind of episode than we normally do. But I hope it will be helpful and telling. One of the reasons I'm feeling inspired to offer this is that once a year, I open my doors to private sessions with people. And these are the people that I don't typically work with all year long, because I have some students that work with me just continuously. So once a year, I open it to everybody. And I say, if you want to try it out, email me. Doors open. You've got a week. Don't open it for long, but you got a week. Come in and we'll do a session. So I thought I'd give you a view into what that looks like and what that feels like and the way I work. Again, not just for people who are going to have the sessions with me, but for all the rest of you who are wondering and thinking, oh, I'm kind of like that too. And, oh, I never knew what to call myself. So come along with me, jump in, and let's go. So to go way, way back, people always say, when did you start getting your psychic gifts? When did you get your intuitive abilities? And one, I cringe at the word psychic. I always have, and I probably always will, because it always makes me think of, the creepy, charlatan person on the phone, and they're just telling you what you want to hear. Or I don't know, there's a lot of, like every genre, there's not so great people sometimes. And psychic was sort of tainted with that. So I've never really used that term for myself. And if you do use it, please re-own that word, retake that word, and make it beautiful. I think, though, that this is largely why the world has been drifting toward the words intuitive or empathic, which I've seen a lot of in the last 10 years. Now, little backstory, history again. I've been in this world for, since I was a kid. 45 years now, maybe? From the time that I really started to see and feel what was going on, what it meant. And I've seen how things have changed and evolved sort of generation by generation. I see how people in their 20s and the influencers today are taking it in and understanding it, and how it'll change again by the time my kids are getting older and delving in. So this word psychic, to go back, for me is really old school. It's 1.0. Empathic, intuitive, that's 2.0. 2.0 is now 3.0, by the way, or so I've been hearing in the news. So we're moving into that. My mom and my family have always been very intuitive, have always been very connected. It was just how we are. My mom is a practicing medium, psychic. She's very old now, and she still does it. And she is fabulous at it. Her name's Venus Andrecht, by the way. If you want to check her out, she's got a really funny podcast. It's called Dear Venus. Very, very funny, although talk about, spilling the tea. You think I'm forthright. She's going to tell you everything. She's going to tell you things you never wanted to hear about her world and her life. And oh my God, it's pretty hysterical. But she's always done this. And my grandmother has always done this. She did Touch for Health, and she did automatic writing. She read tea leaves and astrology. It's sort of generational, the things that we get involved with. Her mother, likewise, did astrology, and as far as we know, practiced empathic intuition, as did her mother. Things get a little fuzzy a few generations back, about 5, but we do know that we tend to have the oldest daughter of the oldest daughter of the oldest daughter of the oldest daughter, and that has been my line, which I have followed through with by having my firstborn being my oldest daughter. So for what it's worth, I know some of you in different parts of the world nod your heads in understanding at this, but I'm going on like 7 generations of this very peculiar line. Now, I don't know if that makes me extra special. From a sciencey standpoint, I don't know. Unless it's very Star Warsy and it's all, passed down through this special mitochondria in your cells, possibly. We don't know yet. But I do know that we have it and we do it. And therefore, I grew up in it. I grew up practicing from around the age 6 to know what people were thinking, to feel other people's thoughts, to know, to look ahead, to see what I was capable of. So what happens when you grew up in a family like this? Just like when you grow up in any family, you run as far away from it as you possibly can at some point in your life. And after, really kind of going into this through my teens and early 20s, I said, no, I'm not going to be a psychic when I grow up. I'm going to be a writer, and I'm going to study literature and publishing. And that's the direction I went in. And I stayed in publishing for, maybe 15 years. But, life is funny. It always circles you back to that thing that you're supposed to be doing. And I circled right on back. without even realizing it. Many of you know that I worked for a company called Hay House for many years, about a decade. Louise Hay was my boss. Dr. Wayne Dyer and I had our podcast and show together for 5 years, and it's where I built Hay House Radio and began this very show, which has been broadcasting for the last 18 years, every week. It was my education. It was my secondary education, the one I could never have paid for, no matter what, occult college I could have tried to find. I lived and breathed inside the world of personal growth and development. All the time, my job was to figure out, what are people saying? What are their gifts? How can we package them and put them out there where other people will want them or understand them or find them to be useful? Because the better you could do that, the more people would want it. And the more my corporate employers would be happy with the sales, but it meant that it was something really darn good, that it was working for people. So that's what I learned how to do. Meanwhile, I'm looking at myself and thinking, I do this thing called Flowdreaming. And I guess maybe other people would be interested too. And that was my very small little squirrel holding her nut beginning. And I realized a lot of people were interested. And every year since, the concept has grown. It's gone from being a particular method for manifesting and co-creating, basically using and changing energy, to something that allows you to heal, to reach in and read energy from the universe, to gain information. It's a whole philosophy. It's a whole way of living and being. So the reason that I'm getting into this, the other reason, besides the fact that I'm doing the sessions this month, is that I put a poll up on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and I said, hey, you guys, what do you want to hear more about? We're going into our 18th season. What should I be talking about? And you guys said, talk about empathic intuition and talk about inner power. I'm like, hell yeah, those are two of my favorites. So let's do it. So I'm talking a little about both. This is the setup, right, for the future episodes. I'm talking about empathic intuition as the thing that I do. In my world, energy, the way I see it, because again, after I went and had my come to Jesus moment, where I said, okay, I guess I'm going to do this and I need to do this and people want this from me way more than they want me to do publishing. I will do this. When I came to that realization, I understood that the work I did was unique. It was not just of one genre. It was, what else could I say? Bi-directional. This will make sense in a second. Bi-directional. Some people were just talking about manifesting and co-creating, right? Talking, the Abraham Hicks style way. Some people were talking about intuition and the Colette Barrett-Reed and the John Holland and the Sonia Choquette group of people. How to be a good medium, how to sense things, how to know things. And then here was me, somewhere in the middle. I said, well, what if you're doing both? What if you do both? What if you can't do one without doing the other? What if they just come together? And I realized my fascination for a long time has been and had been the manifesting aspect of things. This means that when I go into flow, it's like I'm entering a web of living energies. It is very matrixy, guys. It is very Jedi Force. It's funny how movies just keep coming out that kind of describe it in a different way. But that's how I feel like there are little threads of energy and potential and possibility, and I see them and I can pull on them and tug on them. And they're my threads, they're your threads, they're the threads of all of life. All of life is flowing forward right now. It's weaving together. It's coming together. I mean, if you just pause for a second and let the gravity of the idea sink in that this second is now gone and a new second has just replaced it and a new one and a new one and a new one, and it's ceaseless and it never stops. And yet, it's not like everything is drifting into chaos. Wouldn't it just drift in the chaos if nothing was kind of holding it together? Pulling the threads together of the things that are potentialities that are so closely aligned that they're the ones that actually happen? Pulling things together so that the roof stays the roof and the ground stays the ground and your car stays your car and your earbuds stay your earbuds. There's something there that says every second, every moment, stay as you are. Progress from where you are. There's something. That for me is the flow. It's the matrix. It's the web. Maybe it's God. Maybe it's what we call the quote, quote, universe. But there is something. And it's malleable, meaning it's not being dictated at us. We are participating in it. It's our choices as we flow forward that are giving life to all of these things as they keep being created and growing and moving forward. You guys ever seen one of those, what do they call them, time-lapse videos? I was watching a show last night, Magical Fungi of the World. These are the kind of shows I watch to fall asleep. And beautiful images of all these beautiful fungi, growing in the forest floor, and time-lapse, they're sprouting up, and it's just magical. And these mats that are growing across and creeping out, and they look just like neural networks, constantly expanding, building, building, building. For me, that's like the web. That's the neural network of life and time and material reality that's continuously putting itself together. Okay, I'm waxing on now, trying to keep it non-scientific-y and just interesting. But basically, there is a force. There is something that is doing this, that we are part of. We are active elements in. And by we, I mean every single one of us. You, me, the dog, the neighbor, the post person, everybody, everything, the tree, the sun, the cloud, everything is participating in this. Pretty phenomenal. So why would we think that that is unreadable? Why would we think that that is unknowable? Why would we think that we can't just somehow dip in and check the records? Like you dip into your brain's neural network all the time. Like you're always pulling out ideas and memories and forecasts, and you're always pulling into it. So what happens if you just pull into the network of everything that is, as it's happening and where it's been, as well as where it's potentially going? Making sense now? For me, this is what I do. I move into that space. And I'm like, oh, there's the past. There's you. Here's now. Here's where things seem to be rolling and moving toward the future. And that is precisely what I'm looking at. This means if you're asking me to look in someone's mind, to read someone else's energy, their flow of being, it's not hard. It's information. It's there. And in my world, we're tapped in. We are all tapped in. I just have been, paving my road and keeping it up and making it faster and faster, right? I'm turning my little rocky road into a super highway in because I've been practicing and doing this for a long, long time. But that's why when you say, can you look in so-and-so for me? I say, okay. And it's just like placing a phone call to someone. They answer if they want to answer. They tell me the things they want to tell me. If they want to tell me an untruth, I say, well, I'm feeling an untruth from them, but here it is. It's fascinating. It's gorgeous. It's another layer of reality, another layer of information that's existing. It's just we're used to thinking of it as being all bottled up in our individual heads. How ridiculous is that? How many things in the world really are bottled up and don't kind of radiate outward? Even the magnetic lines, the power lines that run through houses. People are like, I don't want those because they radiate out. There's information, that comes out of them. Same is true with us. And to get sciencey, distance is not a thing. Distance is not where all this information's at. Even in your own neurons right now, between thoughts. You have a thought, it dips in and out of quantum space as it completes its journey. Where do you think it's going? What is it doing? It's part of it. It's part of that flow. It's part of that matrix. So to get back to it, when I look at a person, I am communicating with them. Does it matter if they're alive or dead? No. Consciousness is consciousness is consciousness is consciousness. So I go talk to people. I meet people. It's fun. I enjoy it. I meet a lot of strangers. I do a lot of third-party introductions. I'm like, so-and-so is here, and they asked me to come talk with you. Would you mind if we chat? It's really fun. So that's part of what I do. But I also then look elsewhere. Sometimes I just want to gain information. I just want to see, well, who are you? Where are you going? What's all inside of you? What luggage are you carrying? What baggage of energy and emotions and stuck stuff and memories from your past? What's changed you? What's molded you? Where are you stuck? What can be freed? What can be released? What can be healed? Ooh, what do you have in you that you haven't seen that should be, accentuated and grown? Go there. Can you see how it's just all there and open? It's a matter of training yourself and learning what to look for, what to ask. And that's what I've been doing. Learning what to ask. What is the most useful? What does this person need to know? What do I need to know? Where should I be going next? The questions I ask for others are the same things I'm asking for myself continuously. I see this awareness of flow information as, like I just said a few minutes ago, a full layer of a world that is open to us. If you could see ultraviolet, you would see a whole new spectrum of life you could read and take information from in the world. But we don't, so we can't use it. But there are all kinds of layers of information like this, including the ones that we are actually built from, which I consider this energy, this matrix of information that holds me together, holds you together. And not just this present being, the being that's in motion, that has a past and a present and a future. And maybe the future is pretty exciting. Sometimes people say, can you give me a future reading? And I say, no, nope. Well, why not? You do everything else. I don't do future readings because your moment of power is right now. Literally this second, you can make any choice in the world. You can have any epiphany. You can have any change of direction. You can have any grand healing. You can awaken something in yourself. Your choices could be 90 degrees different, a sharp turn to the left or to the right. Your power is now. And if I were to read a future, I would be reading a future that was just predictive based on where you've been, not what you're choosing. Why would I want to give you a future based on where you've been? What if you don't like where you've been? I don't want to tell you something that says, well, you have a high probability of experiencing blah, 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 based on all the crummy actions you've made until now. That's super disempowering and pointless, especially because it's not set in stone. You get to choose right now. One bit of little information you get right now might be enough for you to say, nope, new direction. Or, yep, go in there. Boom, your whole future changes. Everything that psychic told you 2 months ago is now completely wrong. You ever wondered why psychics are so often wrong, predicting the future? It's because of us. Psychics are just reading the probabilities. They're gambling. They're saying, well, there's a 24% chance of this, a 50% chance, right? Because you're the one who's the main force, the actor in your life. And I know we like to think things are predestined. And it's possible some certain experiences and themes may be. But most things in my personal experience has been you in this moment were gifted with the ability to live and grow and change and expand. And that is so precious. That is your soul growing. That is the biggest gift life, God, the universe could ever give you. And I hope you're using it, because that means your future can be anything now. Anything. It's power right there in your palm this second. So again, when I go into flow, when I'm looking around at you, what I'm saying is, this is everything I see. And usually when I'm working with somebody, they're coming with a pain point, like, ugh, this is the thing. I can't get past. I can't get around. It's still here. I'm hurting. I'm smarting from it. I can't seem to lift my own feelings about myself. Right? Great. Let's unravel this with that layer of information, that extra ultraviolet field, that flow field of information, and see what we can see. This is why I consider myself a queen of data. I read the data of life, the data of you, the data of time, the data of past, present, and future. And, maybe some people are more gifted than the others. I'm not a great swimmer, and yet there are some, Olympic level swimmers out there, who they started with an aptitude perhaps, but, they work their ass off to get as good as they get. So I don't know that I'm exceptional, except that I've been practicing as much as I have. That 10,000 hours to be an expert, I've done that. And then some. So this is what it feels like. This is how it feels and what I experience, and frankly, why I love it so much. If you guys who love reality shows, my life is a reality show of looking at everyone else's lives, the ultimate, person who can see in. I was going to say voyeur, but that sounds terrible. I don't feel that way. Everything is consensual. Everything is like, oh, hi. It's nice to meet you. It's great to meet you too. It's like making friends every day with the intention of, I'm here to help. I'm here to, open the windows and doors and put some light in. I'm here to clean the dust bunnies out. If you want me, I'm here for that. If you don't, that's cool. Because every single person that I meet or talk with or situations that I read or look into, they have their own personal power. They can say no. And sometimes people do. And I'm respectful. What can I do? We are all kings of our own kingdom, queens of our own queendom. It's one of my perennial phrases. So this is an aspect of the way that I work. This person who is a data miner, right? A data miner in the regular world talk is the person who goes on the internet and mines all the data about all the places you've been and all the purchases you've made. And, they have this little catalog of who you are, all your photos you've ever uploaded. They know it. My kind of data mining is to look at the invisible stuff, the stuff of you, your life, your lives, where you've been, who you've been, what you've been, how you feel, where it's being held, what needs to be gently tugged on or released to let go, what needs to be gently coaxed and say, go for it, run toward this. This is your path. The other aspect of what I do is the manifesting part. So part of reading the data for me is learning and getting information. The other part is what is popularly known now as manifesting or co-creating. There's lots of different names. Law of attraction, lots of names for this. It just means you look at all the energy and you're like, yeah, I want this. I'm going to align to this. When I look out there and I'm looking at energies, I feel potentials. It's like little swirling vortexes of possibilities. Do you want that one? Do you want that one? Do you want that one? Do you want to make your own? How do you make energy? I know, you're probably wondering, what is she talking about? How do you make energy? This sounds so crazy. Again, I'm not going to give you all the sciencey stuff behind this. I have done episodes on that in the past, especially in my first about 5 years of broadcasting this program. Interviewed a lot of holist physicists and really got grounded in what is this thing? And is it real? Because if I'm going to commit my life to it, I really need to understand that it fits me. And I'm very, very sciencey. You guys have no idea. I geek out every science show on TV. I subscribe to all the science newsletters on my phone and in my news, even more so than personal growth newsletters. So for me, this is very deeply grounded in a network, a theology without a theo. What would that be? An ideology of how things all fit together. And part of that fitting together, yes, is you can affect energy. What you are, imagine right now that you are this being that is moving forward in space and time, as we just talked about, and you have a collection of information in you. And sometimes it's full of hope and wonder and joy and power and focus. And everything that you're hitting, imagine you're hitting things one after another. It's like a video game and you're plunging forward. You're hitting all the walls. Boom, boom, boom. All these walls are hitting you, right? These walls are seconds. But what they're hitting is this inside you. And they're responding to that. They're changing based on that. The game changes based on that. Everything around you changes based on that. That's why I always say manifesting for me is not, I'm going to make something happen. It's I'm going to be something to happen. I will become the thing to happen. I don't make things outside me and put my little fingers in the energies and try and twist stuff into being. That's hard and unpredictable. I make myself be the thing. I make myself feel the thing. I make myself become the thing, the energy. And the only limitations to what I can become and feel are the upper limits of my own mind and imagination and belief. That's why we talk about limiting beliefs. And in my world of Flowdreaming and Me School, we talk about ceilings. I want to get beyond them. I want to have an open sky above me. I can feel and think and believe anything. And then I want to become that thing. It's magical thinking. It's beautiful thinking. It's thinking that makes you feel alive and on purpose. Limitless thinking. Why engage in limited thinking at all? To keep you safe? It's silly. Life is short. So when I go forward and I am being that thing, I am telling the world around me this is who I am. Bounce off this, baby. And bounce off it does. And it changes, right? World and life align to you. Have you ever noticed that happy people seem to have a lot of other happy people in their lives and a lot of happy circumstances, and negative, upset, angry people have a lot of upset, negative, angry things going on in their lives? And you think, yeah, well, they match, right? Exactly. We are aligned to what we are. So for me, manifesting, and when I'm working with a person, to get back to that, how I work and kind of how it all comes together, when I'm working with somebody, I say, well, what do you want to be? How do you want to feel? What kind of ideas and opportunities do you want to go into or experience? And then depending on their level and their ability to open and expand their minds to say yes to these possibilities, we go there. And if they open their mind a little bit and I say, no, honey, you can do better. You can have more than that. Ask for more. Then we'll ask for more. Because I see it when they don't. Because I'm like the person standing outside them in this energy world, looking at them and saying, no, what you're asking for is too little, too low. Ask for more. My perspective is bird's eye. Their perspective is out their own eyes. So this is, I hope, kind of informational. I wish I could coin a new term for how this all works together. I teach empathic intuition. I have a program called Born Empath. And I teach people how to read other people, how to read situations, how to read workplaces, right? Situations, workplaces, they're just groupings of people coming together, creating a bigger kind of mix of information. It's all there for the reading. Nothing is impossible. But that's half the thing. If you read information, that's awesome. I love having more info. But always my next question is, and what do you want to do with it? It's one thing to know, but what do you want to do with it? And that's where the next step comes in. Let's change it. Let's grow it. Let's bust through it. Let's move it. Let's shape it. Let's get what you want here. Now that you know this, now what? And that's where the manifesting comes in. So if you guys have a great idea for what I should call this, you let me know. I call the whole philosophy Flowdreaming, but it's something different when you are both a manifester, co-creator, and an empath on behalf of someone else. When you read the energies both of yin and yang, when you're able to put information out into the world and life and receive information back from the world and life, what is that? Because we've defined them both separately, but what about together? I'm really curious. Please email me, you guys. I'm totally serious about this. summer@flowdreaming.com. So this is what I do. And the older I get, it's funny, like I shift between what I'm more interested in. For years, it's all manifesting. And then it's like, no, intuition. It's just kind of like whichever way my wind is pushing me, wherever I feel I'm curious next, right? The person who is intent on growing is always looking for the what's next in their field. And so I'm always kind of popping back and forth between these two. What's next? I put out flow dreams for people to help them co-create and manifest. Right? That's the point of all of those audios. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to flowdreaming.com. I have a shop that has about 200 different audios that get you into the energy space of manifesting, take you there, help you create a specific pinpointed desire. All kinds of themes. Love, health, buying a new home. Soon I'll do one on how to retire, all kinds of themes. But then I also teach and work with people one-on-one to look into them, to help them, to see them, to uncork them, to unblock them. That is what I do. And I can't imagine ever really not doing this, frankly. Even last year and this year, as I take more time to write, it's because I realize I've recorded so much over the years as podcasts. I've recorded, hundreds and hundreds of hours of information. But it's one thing to listen, another to open a book that spells it all out and says, here you go. So I have just that book. It is coming out. I will give you guys details as soon as all the deals close. Very, very exciting. And I have 2 more books in the works. They're going to talk to you about empathic intuition and kind of bringing it all together in different areas of your lives. So I hope this was exciting and informational and kind of made sense and showed you what it's like to be a person who does both. And again, maybe now this is you, and maybe we're all clambering around for what is the term? What is this person? It's not thought leader. Thought leader is great. It just means you have a mindset that you want to share with others, and it's a mindset that works. But it's not quite right. What is it? Magician? I don't know. I would love to discover it, though. And I don't want it to be all in the woo-woo realm either. I want it to be kind of something like, like I'm in the data. I just read data. It's grounded. It's in the real world. Because this is where data information is going to go next. As they play more and more with AI and a lot of the things that are happening right now, they will be discovering we are going into a quantum field of information. And that is where a lot of this stuff is happening. And why do we think only computers can go into this realm? Isn't that weird? The maker would think that the thing I make can go into this realm, but not me. You guys, we're all in this realm. It's time to skill up for ourselves, for the planet, for each other. So that's what I do. That's why I do it. That's why it's a calling. That's why I love it. So going forward, if you guys are happening to listen to the show in this week that I am doing private sessions, just jump on my mailing list. You'll get emails from me or email me directly, summer@flowdreaming.com. Like I said, I only do it about once a year. After that, I only work with my ongoing students just because I do a lot. I like to stay very, very busy. And I have books to write and all kinds of things to get done this year. And it's going to be a very exciting year, this 2022. And as you learned from the last episode, when I was talking about what I think is coming ahead, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be good stuff. So with that, you guys, I send you lots of love. I hope it's been eye-opening. I hope you feel a little invigorated yourself. Maybe I said a few things that make you want to research what's going on in you, like what you're capable of. Or maybe start with your empathic intuition, then switch over to manifesting, or start with manifesting, then empathic intuition, or heck, come to me school. I'll teach you how to do both. By the way, I'm not doing me school right this second as I'm recording. I'm only doing that once a year now too, but you can get on my wait list. Just ask me about it. Okay, my loves, my darlings, have a beautiful rest of your week. Thank you for sharing a little time with me, letting me expand your thinking, and I'll see you next time for another episode of Flowdreaming. Hi, friends. If you enjoyed this episode, then I'd like you to consider what having private mentoring with me would be like. You see, I accept a small number of people each year for private coaching. The question is, what do you want to make? Who do you want to become? We can program and shape any area of yourself or your life. Imagine right now what you would be doing if you had no fear. Imagine how your life would look if there were no patterns and blocks repeatedly tripping you up. Imagine if you were fully healed in your heart, body, and mind. Imagine if you also had a map to your success and you could follow it with ease and flow. Well, I look into you and into your life, and I feel where you're going and know where the road is open and where it's blocked. I help you make the very best decisions based on what's coming up for you. I'll also show you exactly what I do day to day to succeed in my personal and business life, and we can create a copycat plan for you. So if you're game, you can fill out an application on my website for private coaching. Just go to flowdreaming.com/coaching, and then let's talk. I mean, the time to go for it is now. So let's just get this started. Just reach out to me at my website, flowdreaming.com, and I'll get right back with you.